Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again. I am here to review the final Bette Davis movie. It's not only my final Bette Davis movie, I guess for a while, sadly, but it is also her last movie. It is called Wicked Stepmother. And I would say, number one, terrible title. It is not a title that reflects the movie almost at all. like, only 15 minutes or so of this movie is Wicked Stepmother. The rest of it is uh, Witches Entwined or something like that. Maybe that would be a good title. This is a weird movie. It is a very. It's kind of sad. It's kind of a. You can really see all these good things throughout it. You can see all these good potential things and all these people who are passionate about making movies. The music is really good. There's some nice music. The theme is very mystical and mysterious, and I really like the theme. And some of the acting is really good. Some of the sets are really cool. It has a very Beetlejuice type of look. And in fact, this really could have been Beetlejuice if it was good. That's what this should have been. But instead, it was almost like a pussified Bewitched episode. And I think, sadly enough, it really seemed to fall apart the more it went on. And I think it's for a variety of reasons. I heard some sort of controversy around the fact that Bette Davis, apparently, she either left the movie for health reasons or she left it because she hated the script so much she wanted them to change it. And so they had to basically cut her out of the movie and replace her with this hot woman who is sort of like, I guess, their friend, witch friends, and they both use like a human body. Like, it's really confusing. It's really dumb, really strange, really mediocre, and kind of just but it does have some good things about it. But that really just stuck out like a sore thumb because the whole movie kept on changing. Like, even though they changed that with the whole Bette Davis being the main villain, even though she kind of just basically exits the film in favor of a hot actress. I can't remember her name. I think it was Barbara. She is so much better. It's not even funny, and and we'll talk about her. But the movie just keeps on changing over and over again. You never know what it wants to be, except for this really mediocre, kind of bad comedy. There's a lot of jokes that fall flat. There's a lot of really childish jokes, a lot of bad jokes that I felt bad that the actors had to say these jokes in this movie because they really didn't deserve it. Like, you have Richard Moll, and he had some terrible jokes. Like, he's like, oh yeah, just pretend there's a clogged toilet and clog your toilet, and I'll unclog it for free because I'm a plumber. Well, I got fired as a plumber. and it's sad because he's a really good actor. I saw him. The thing that I remember him most from is Beanstalk. Beanstalk is a fantastic kids movie, basically a reimagining of Jack and the Beanstalk, and he plays this business tycoon type of character in that movie, and he's very funny. He's very good. But in this movie, he is given probably some of the worst jokes I've ever heard. Probably one of the worst parts of the movie was when he was impersonating their Japanese gardener. And the reason why isn't because I'm like, oh, I'm offended by that because that's racist. I don't give a fuck. Like, it could have been funny. But the thing is that he made absolutely no attempt to look like the guy at all. He was tall. He's like a 7 foot tall guy. He's white. He didn't even do anything to like make himself look like the guy. Like he has pale white skin. You can tell that this is a different person. He's taller. He doesn't sound like him. Basically, all that he does is he wears like this gardening hat to make himself look like the Japanese gardener, and then he kind of does a voice but kind of doesn't. And it's almost like the filmmakers are scared to actually have him do a disguise, because that's what he's trying to do. He's a private detective, and so he's supposed to be doing a thorough disguise to try to throw people off, and just kind of like in the Jackass movies where you have that one guy and he dresses up as the grandpa. It's the same type of thing. There's nothing racist about it. And so the fact that he made no attempt whatsoever other than he wears a gardening hat. And then the killer thing is that the family sees him and then they just totally accept that he's the gardener. I mean, what a stupid fucking... That's the sad thing about this movie, is that it has so many flaws. This movie is a disaster. It really was like a giant mess. And I just feel really sad about saying that, though, because I really wanted to like this movie, and it did have a lot of good stuff in it. For instance, Richard Moll again, but also the main witch. The main witch after the first one leaves the movie. The main witch, she's a very good actress, and she has this voice that's she just has the perfect witch appearance and sound. And so it's unfortunate that she did not get a good script, and she did not get a good witch look. In fact, it was funny because she never has any gross monster witch look in the movie, but at the end of the movie, when, spoiler alert, she's dying, they show this quick flash of like this really cool blue witch face, and it is some of the coolest monster makeup I've ever seen for a witch character. And I really think that she should have had that for a lot of the movie. And I think that the movie, it should have been a horror movie, because this really felt like a TV movie. It felt like a sitcom. It felt like maybe like a Bewitched parody, or a Bewitched spinoff, or a Bewitched tribute, or something to do with Bewitched. Definitely the guy who made this movie, he must have grown up loving Bewitched, because the movie really did not feel like it had any balls. It had nothing, it had no teeth to it at all. You have these characters and they're just so light and so one-dimensional, and the story is just so weak and pathetic. Like, just these random things happen with no sort of meaning. I guess it's like this loose plot where you have these two witches and one of them lost their body, and so I guess they're taking turns in one body, and when the other one comes in the body, the other one has to go into this cat. I guess that's the plot. And then they get with the family and they make all the family rich, and then the whole family dies or something bad happens to them. So basically she's like a Black Widow witch. It's so stupid. It's sad. It's very sad. It could have been something really good. This could have been Beetlejuice, but with witches. And I think that's the tragic thing. And I really feel sorry for the director and writer, because he was really thrown for a loop when Betty left the movie. feel like he never recovered from it, although he tried. He really tried. I mean, he hired someone who not only acted circles around Bette Davis, but also was like probably one of the best witches I've ever seen. And so it's really sad that, too, that they didn't give a good script. There wasn't really much to like in this movie other than that. I mean, there wasn't really a lot of this movie was stupid, dumb jokes. You know, there's this one part where the witch wrecks the kitchen, and it's like, oh, ha 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 ha, she's a troublemaker witch. And then there's a part where the dog rips the pants off of the dad, like, oh, ha 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 ha, troublemaking. And it's like, this is like something a 4-year-old would write. This is not something an adult would write and say that's funny. I don't know. This is just such a confusing mess of a movie. It's hard to even talk about. This would have been a lot better to do as a commentary, honestly. I think that the movie story is just so all over the place that it's hard to even talk about the movie much because it jumps around so much that, like, what do you even talk about? Like, probably my favorite part was when the dad went to the courthouse and we first meet the good witch, the young witch, you know what I mean? I can't remember any of their names. I think it was like Priscilla. Uh, when we first meet her, she seemed like she was going to steal the show and completely turn the movie around and make it awesome. But then the movie almost gets worse. I mean, it just gets worse and worse and worse. And the finale, the ending fight in this movie is one of the worst things I've ever seen. It was seriously, this should have been a TV movie. I could not tell that this was a studio made film. It was a very low quality movie. But when she first comes in, it seems like it's going to be this really fun plot where you have this witch and she moves on to different families and she sort of tricks them into liking her while also like controlling them and like screwing up their whole lives because she made this one family miniature, and I thought that was interesting, and that plot never gets resolved at all. Like, we never find out what happens to them. We never find out if there's another witch in the movie who's good, and we never find out if she helps them or anything. It's just completely like thrown away, like, oh, they're gonna be miniature forever. So I thought it was gonna be a very fun plot, like where she's causing all these tricks to happen. Like maybe she could do like a poltergeist thing where the son like falls out of his own skin or something. You know, like really like gory, fun, like campy 80s horror type stuff. You know, just something interesting. But instead, all the characters do are really just get in these kitty antics where like, oh no, we locked ourselves out of the house. And then they pick the lock and then the doorknob falls off like ha ha ha. Like ugh, ugh, ugh. Ugh. Just thinking about whoever wrote this movie. And now here's even worse. The guy who made this movie, I didn't know this until I was almost done with the movie. The guy who made this movie made one of my favorite horror movies of all time, A Return to Salem's Lot. And if I had known that before I started watching this movie, I would have been even more disappointed. Because Return to Salem's Lot is phenomenal. And so I really didn't understand. I think it's just he has some sort of a fandom for Bewitched, and so he wanted to make his own Bewitched, and I guess props to him for doing that, I guess. It did have some funny jokes in it. There were a lot of great jokes. I don't know whether they were on purpose or whether they were, indirect, whatever, but the way that I look at it in comedies, even if the jokes aren't meant to be funny, and they're funny anyway, they're still funny, and so it's still a good comedy. So I would say that this movie was a pretty okay comedy, but it really should have been a horror movie. It should have been Beetlejuice meets witches, but instead it was Bewitched meets, I don't know, Housewives of Los Angeles or something. Like, it was really uninteresting. The plot just could not stop moving all over the place. And what was I going to say? I was going to say something else before I got to the end. I hate it when I do that, when I forget about what I'm going to say in a review. Well, okay, I will say at the end they have this really cool thing where the dad or the grandpa. Oh, okay, I know what I was going to say. The worst part of this movie, the absolute worst part, is Colleen Camp. She plays the mom in this movie, and she is just straight up Karen. Like, she is full on Karen. She walks into the house, ah, this bitch is smoking. And then she goes into the kitchen, ah, we don't eat meat. And then she runs upstairs, ah, the houses are different, the rooms are different. And it's like, she is just the most obnoxious character. And so that really did not work too, because you're supposed to root for her the whole movie. You're supposed to be on her side. I wasn't on anyone's side really, except for, I guess, the private detectives. But even he kind of just came and went and disappeared from the movie. And so and then at the end, I did like the fact that the grandpa, he has watched so much television. And it's actually a really interesting twist, because the witch came into his life to evade getting caught by the police, because I guess the police were arresting random old women and forcing them to be in a lineup for the miniature family. And that was another good thing, was the fact that it was a good idea to have her played by a different woman in public, because she would not want to get caught, and so she could conceal her identity by being disguised as this younger, attractive witch. And so I thought that was good. But she came into this grandpa's life, and I really liked how she made some positive changes. Like, she helped him get his hair back, and he grew like a full head of hair, and I thought that was pretty cool. But she also forced him to watch television all day long. And he said he never watched television before because he thought it was evil or some stupid shit. So he's watched so much television, in particular game shows, that he knows all the answers, and he has like a ton of knowledge. And so at the end, it's really funny because it comes to bite her in the ass, because he knows how to defeat her. He knows how to defeat witches because he's watched so much television. And I thought that was actually a really interesting and fun twist. And it kind of helped the ending of the movie not be a total disaster. But then it was a total disaster, because basically they got rid of the hot witch, and then the only witch that was left was inside the cat's body. And so this detective got fired for suggesting that a witch turned all the people miniature, and he took the cat. You don't want to know the full story. Just go watch it yourself if you want to know this full crappy story. But the detective took the cat away, and then the cat basically does this thing where she makes him and the car that he's in get really, really tiny. And so that's how it ends, is that, oh no, she's causing trouble again. Wah, wah, wah. And it's like, just stop. Just stop. So all in all, I really think that the script needed work. But I gotta say that I applaud them for trying, because it had to have been like a huge disaster for Betty to have left the movie in the middle of filming. And the whole movie's about her. It's called Wicked Stepmother, and she just leaves in the middle of filming. I mean, that's just shitty. I'm sorry, but that's just shitty. That is just completely shitty. And she didn't even have any moments in the movie where she looked at something and with silence. You know, like in all of her movies, it's basically a cliche at this point, or it's something that we've come to expect, where she looks at something, she has a 5 minute sequence or so where she doesn't have any dialogue because she doesn't need it, because that's how good of an actress she is, or so I thought she was. Because in this movie, she wasn't given any of that. She just, the whole movie, she's like this. Well, okay, she's not even in the whole movie, but for the movie that she was in, she was very weak, average, boring, just not good. This movie wasn't very good. I would watch it again though, and I wouldn't say sorry. And I wouldn't say it's a total disaster, but it definitely is a mess. And I think that it'll go down as one of the biggest movie disasters ever made, unfortunately. I would say that you should remake this movie and make it like Beetlejuice. You know, make it rated R. Bring back the good actress playing the young witch Priscilla, and then like I don't know, have good actors play all the have Richard Moll come back. Maybe he could be the dad this time, and you know, do the movie right. You know, don't do this. I would rate this movie. Tonight I had these hamburgers, and not only did they not have really much seasoning on them, but the meat was not very good, and the meat just kind of fell apart, and it was very crumbly, and it was like a crumble of little tiny particles. I don't know how to describe it. It was like eating trash. And this movie, at first, you know, you're thinking, "Oh, I'm eating a cheeseburger. Having a nice cheeseburger." And then over the course of the movie, you're chewing that burger, and you can taste that this is not a good burger. This is a weird one. It is one that falls apart. You know, it's one with weird, bad meat. It's one that doesn't really have much flavor. And so all the stuff that you had to say about it that was good quickly turns into something negative. But I will say, I will recommend this movie to you because I think it is a lot of fun. I'd love to do this movie again as a commentary, although I don't know how many views it'll get. But yeah, this is my last Bette Davis movie. I would say this is probably easily her worst one. It wasn't that bad though. Like a lot of people say, like this is one of the worst movies of all time. I don't think so. I don't think so. Okay, I've seen a lot of bad movies, and I'd rather watch this than most of those bad movies. So anyways, please like this video, comment, what did you think of Wicked Stepmother? And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more movie reviews. Goodbye everybody, see you soon.